Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So Draymond is ruled out for today.
Yeah.
Do you know like the extent of this right knee contusion? And is it something that you think could keep him out for longer games? Or more?
It flared up today. So he will be more thoroughly checked out today by our medical staff. So it was sort of unexpected. The way he came through treatment yesterday, everything was looking good, and he had a setback today. So we'll learn more today, and we'll have more for you tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Does he need to get like an X-ray or something? Or is
Probably an MRI. So I'll talk to the training staff after this. But Raymond, do you have any info yet? Yeah.
Details. And Coach, I asked Chris Finch about this before our last game. With things so tight in the Western Conference, is it diving too much into hyperbole to say that the playoffs have already begun in a way, or at least taking that approach? You have a veteran group with some young guys, but I'm curious how you communicate this final sprint, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a couple of ways to look at it. You know, it is a bit of a sprint, but it's also a quarter of the season, which is a good chunk. So I think it's important to have a sense of urgency, but not, lose your mind if things don't go well for a couple games, because, you lose 3 or 4 in a row, then you got to bounce back. So you're trying to find the balance between urgency and execution and poise and all of that. But I've never seen it like this. I don't know if there is precedent to have 4 through 13 be so close. It's bizarre. I think it's good for the fans. I think every fan base knows they're in it, and that's a good thing. But it'll be a fight to the finish for sure.
Same starting lineup as last time with Dante and Kuminga.
Yeah, without Draymond. Yep.
Do you have, this will probably, I guess, be a daily question, but any more clarity on Wiggins' status?
No. Again, when anything is a family matter, that goes without saying. It's private. So
yeah, I was just more if he was expected back, but.
Patrick Baldwin Jr. hasn't played a lot of games this season. It's been 18, but when he does go in, he's ready. What have you observed about his development this season, either with the big club or Santa Cruz, or simply in practice?
Well, I like the process. When we drafted him, he had injuries that hampered his last couple of years of basketball, both high school and his freshman year college. So a big part of things was getting him with our training staff, getting him right physically. And then of course, spending a lot of time in the G League, getting reps and mixing in practices and games here, scrimmages here with the other young guys and coaches, and then sprinkling them into games. So I think the process has been really how it's supposed to be for a young player, and he's doing great. He's really confident shooting the ball. He's got great size. He's starting to understand the defensive concepts we're teaching, defending without fouling, verticality, chest, all the things you have to know and do proficiently in the NBA. So he's a smart young guy and a talented player, and so we're very high on him.
For a while there, looked like the Rockets were really kind of attacking him. I'm sure you expect that in pick and roll situations. And they scored on him, but how did you think he did? And is it almost sometimes good to see that and to see a young guy get challenged like that?
Yeah. I think it's important for players to feel that. And I thought he held up pretty well. He forced a couple of tough shots, and but that's going to be part of it for every young player. They're going to attack you, especially in the modern game. The isolation, the pick and roll stuff. They're going to put all the young guys, in situations where they have to respond, and so it's good for him to see those reps. I've said it often, but all these young guys need a ton of reps to get to the point where everything is very instinctive for them.
We obviously talk a lot about the uniqueness of Steph is in some ways why you play the way you do offensively. Draymond is a big part of that with them both out now and for however long. Do you change the way you play or coach or call plays offensively?
Well, it's hard to change an identity, but you can add a couple of play calls, which we've done, certain matchups that you see, maybe going to Klay a little bit more in pick and roll than we normally would. For example, just with Steph being out, maybe playing a different combination, get more shooting on the floor. This, but we're much more likely to play Loon and Draymond together when we've got Steph and Klay. But when you miss Steph, it makes spacing the floor a lot more difficult. So we factor all that stuff in, and then inevitably you're still going to be who you are, but you can mix in different ways of attacking too.
Steve, Klay said after the game that he kind of has not been reflecting as much on the pre-injury Klay and getting, matching that person, but on the person he is now and the player he is now. Have you seen a transformation of just, okay, I can be that player again, but I don't have to focus on that time before the injuries?
Yeah, I think it's important for him to take that step, which he's doing. I think early in the season, he was really wrapped up in, trying to become the same player he was 5 years ago. And it just doesn't work that way, for any of us, in anything. We're all different as we get older and things happen. And so I think you constantly have to be looking forward and reinventing yourselves in some ways. And whether it's Klay with the injuries or anybody who's getting older, you add things to your game, you try to evolve. And I really love that he has that perspective. I think it's important.